These techniques might sound simple, but man, are they effective? Let me take you on a trip. I mean, literally, and I'll show you all the techniques along the way. So let's go ahead and ask what are the must visit places in Singapore. And you get a bunch of results with a lot of text, but you really don't know what are the most popular ones and which one you must cover. So this is one of the techniques I very frequently use is to assign a score. So let's go ahead and assign a score based on the popularity of these places. And you immediately notice that you have much better idea about these places now. The scoring technique gives you two key capabilities, the filter and the sort. And if I do a sort now, I can quickly get an idea of which places are really important for me. So here is another example where I was supposed to interview this candidate and I got his resume with an astonishing 51 summary bullet points. I don't know what that guy was thinking, but I immediately took this, categorized it, and scored it, and boom. And I instantly knew what were his skill sets. So, this is what we have learned so far. And if you've been enjoying this video, please consider subscribing my channel. All right, back to our trip example. So, let's build a 5-day trip using these places. And here are my trip details. Fantastic. We're going to use this later. So Little India and Clark Key both had a rating of 7, and I wanted to do a quick comparison. But the regular comparison is not really readable. It's very hard to digest. So before we go to the interactive tables, let me just show you some of the things you can do with the regular table itself. So let's go ahead and compare these side by side in a table, and you will immediately notice that the results are so much more meaningful. It makes so much more sense to compare them side by side. So I'm going to add a couple of other alternatives as an additional column. And my comparison table is looking great. I've got two places, Boogies and Kampong Glam, and it looks wonderful. The only problem is that my list of features is really long, right? And sometimes you might want to transpose, which means moving the rows to columns and columns to rows. So let's go ahead and transpose it, and looks like it didn't really work. ChatGPT has a mind of its own, and sometimes you have to give it a little nudge. So let's go ahead and just give it a very specific instruction on how to transpose, and let's see. Okay, so finally the data is fully transposed with locations as rows and all the categories as columns. Now let's go ahead and convert this table into an interactive table, and make sure that you are very specific and mention that you're doing this for data analysis, and will open an interactive table for you. If you see an expand icon on the top right corner, which means you have an interactive table and you can do so much more with it. So let's jump right into the interactive mode, and here you can select columns, ask questions, or you can select columns, generate charts, and do so much more. I have three main criterias for choosing a place: the vibe, the food, and accessibility. But these texts are not easily comparable. So let's go back to our trusted scoring and give them a rating between 1 to 10 for each of these criterias. The results are back, and all those texts are now replaced with ratings. And by the way, I forgot to add a column for how expensive that place is, so let's add that too. Finally, I have all four columns with the ratings. Perfect. And here's the fun stuff. Select all these cells for these four different columns and just say generate a bar chart for these places. And voila, you have your chart ready. But wait, the colors are not looking great, so let me ask it to replace it with contrasting colors. Charts are now in contrasting colors. Fantastic. So earlier I was looking for alternatives for Little India and Clark Key, And seems like Boogies is the least expensive option, so I'm going to replace Clark Key with Boogies in my trip. Remember the 5-day trip details which I earlier created? Now finally I have it with all the places I wanted. So I have my locations, I have my trip details planned, but this long text format is still not what I wanted. So I searched the internet and I found this really simple travel planner. It has the date, time, activity, the actual address of the place, the link, and the cost. So I simply uploaded this document and asked it to generate the trip details in this attached format. So here I'm getting the results back, but looks like it has run into some issues. So let me ask it to generate again in a single table format. And looks like it's working fine now. And that's it. There you have it. And you have the day, the time, activity along with addresses, the link, and the cost. Fantastic. If you're wondering when are we going to Boogies, it's on day 5. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.